Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
In an attempt to serve all members of our audience, we now provide a professional cooking tip to all vegetarians. If you stir coconut oil into your kale, it makes it much easier to scrape it into the trash. I can't help it. I love that one. Morning, everybody. Here comes Kate Smith and God Bless America, followed by a Patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance on a Monday. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Oh, good morning, good morning, good morning, everybody. I'm Zeb Bell. Zeb at the Ranch as we kick off another week, Monday, June 18th. And, of course, brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. Get ready for a road trip. They've got all your tires. And, of course, some of our great advertisers, including Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Let's go to the phone line right now and have our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Very well done, my friend. Call me back in a few minutes, if you would, please.
Got it.
All right, my friend. Hey, it's time for the weather, and wheels ride that gain a little bit for that extra vibration on the line, if you would, please. Don't forget, K&R Rental brings us the weather this morning at 256 South, 600 west of Hayburn, right there on the Burley-Paul Highway. And, of course, they've got the best of tools and equipment to finish any construction project. I mean, they've got all your rototillers and your weed rippers and all the lawn mowers. And I'll tell you, post hole diggers, you better believe they've got everything from forklifts all the way to the power tools that you need. Roger and the crew right there get there early in the morning at 7 a.m. at K&R Rental. Right now, here's the weather. Once again, here's the weather.
I apologize, sir. I'm trying to get the hotkey going, but for some reason it's not wanting to fire off.
Well, get it checked and talk to me real quick when you get it loaded, okay? K&R Rental brings you what looks to be like a cloudy and rainy day today. They're calling for some thunder showers to come into our area. We apologize for the tape not being ready, and we'll have that weather forecast in just a little bit. K&R Rental at 256 South, 600 west of Hayburn. Number to call, 678-3122. Thank you very much. Hey, by the way, too, don't forget our friends at Daryl's Cleaners. This is a great way to start a Monday, right? Daryl's Cleaners at 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley with Kevin and Cindy, the whole crew, and I'm telling you that they can clean anything, and they restore items, and when you go to pick up your clothes, they look brand spanking new. Go with the best, work with the best, and that's Daryl's Cleaners at 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. You stop in and see them today. Calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I got a special birthday today, and that goes to a man that I have the utmost respect for because he can listen here on the program, and then he takes some of the things that are said, some of the things that are done, and turns them into really classy cartoons. And that's Paul Peterson celebrating a birthday this morning, and we wish him the best. Happy birthday to you, Paul Peterson. Have a great day. Don't forget Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. The number to call, 678-0459, for all your heating, cooling, and electrical needs. They are the best, not brag, just fact. And they've got all the air filters to keep your cooling system clean and running efficiently. Check it out today, along with all your heating, cooling, and electrical needs at Ramsey Heating and Electric, 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley, where they provide warm winters and cool summers. Calls are welcome and appreciated at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. A statement made this weekend by the left really riles me up because it's not true, and it kind of puts Christians in a box, if you will. You can't be pro-life and against immigration. Now think about that. The left is saying you and I can't be pro-life and against immigration. Why not, when they are not referring to illegal alien immigrants coming across the border? They're lumping everything into that one word, immigration. First of all, it's not immigration if you come here illegally. Let's remember that. It is not immigration if you come here illegally and cross the border in an illegal fashion to gain entry into this country under the cloak of darkness or secrecy or for illicit means. That's not immigration. This statement is so inflammatory and stupid. I am very pro-life. I'm talking about myself right now. I'm very pro-life, absolutely. I am against abortion and the way it's used by many in this country as a form of birth control. Now, that's a fact. I am not against legal immigration. From the emails and some of the stupid calls I've received, I feel like I have to clarify, and I shouldn't have to. I have to clarify some of my positions. I am not against legal immigration. Legal and immigration go together. The illegals are not immigrants. Let me say that again so that you understand. The illegal aliens that come into this country in an illegal fashion are not immigrants. They came here illegally and should not be here unless they go through legal channels. And the criticism of Attorney General Jeff Sessions and others over the weekend, absolutely unfounded. Absolutely unfounded. The left twisting this story into knots. Your thoughts. Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Don't forget Denny's Restaurant, and we're going to be over there this coming Thursday for our June lunch bunch. Yes, we are, at 611 North Overland and Burley, and another location of America's Diner at 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. Oh, my goodness sakes, yes, it's going to be a lot of fun. We're finally going to get back together again. We missed the May lunch bunch. We had some problems here, and so we just weren't able to have it, but we're ready to rock and roll on Thursday at Denny's Restaurant for Zeb's Lunch Bunch. Please be there. Fill the place up. Let's have a lot of fun. Great food, super nice people serving you at Denny's Restaurant in Burley, 611 North Overland. Yes, it is America's Diner. Caller, I'll be right there. I want to remind everybody, too, about Pomerel Place. They've got so many things going on over there, and they really have great activities every week for your mom or dad that they will really enjoy. Give Holly a call over there at Pomerell Place, 1301 Bennett Street in Burley. It is a place for senior living, and it offers the ability for seniors to maintain their independence both safely and comfortably. Call them, please, 677-8212. Pomerell Place, a place for senior living. Caller, good morning, and thank you. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning, Zeb.
Hello, Tony.
You know this thing about all these children being separated from their parents, I really feel that these children are being used as a weapon to prevent the construction of the wall and to continue the movement of these illegals into this country.
I agree. And some of the statements that were made about how these children caring facilities are like concentration camps, absolute buffoonery from the left. I listened to a reporter this morning that had toured the area where they hold those children until their parents can get the paperwork necessary, whatever. And quite frankly, they're probably more modern and more helpful and more medically informed than most daycare centers. And so this trash by the left doesn't stand up.
You know, the whole problem is if we can't stop this illegal immigration, at some point we're going to be having water shortages, food shortages, the farmlands are disappearing, and we'll be getting more and more food in from foreign countries, and they'll be able to hold us hostage over a food supply.
Tony, you listen to this program religiously, and I thank you for that. But you know there is one man that has been saying this for years and years on the show, and that's Frosty Woldridge. And he is 100% correct.
I agree with him 1,000%.
Absolutely. It's coming to fruition, unfortunately. And I'll tell you what, we're going to rue the day, Tony. We're going to rue the day.
Yep. It's coming, baby.
All right. God bless you and Mary. Thank you so much for calling.
Okay, thank you, Zeb.
Thank you, Tony. I appreciate it. Caller, I'll be right there. Hold on, please. I want to remind everybody about Dino Septic Service. You know, when you talk about septic service like a spot on the radio, you know, you sit there and you go, ooh, I don't want to do that job. I don't want to pump septic tanks. I don't want to be in charge of liquid waste removal. Well, they do it, and they do it well at Dino's Septic Service. Fast, fair, friendly service. Call them. 2 numbers I'll give you right now. Write them down, 436-6526, or in Burley, 678-1638. I'm telling you, they really care. They've got an attitude of, we're here, we'll serve, call us. All you need to do is give them a jingle. Dino Septic Service, where they have that big truck that says, smells cargo on the way. Call them today, Dino Septic Service. Caller, good morning, and thank you for your call.
You're welcome, sir. Yeah, this deal over the kids, and Jerry's quite right. The Democrats will use anything, and they're using these children for political gain.
Yep.
They don't care about these children at all. They're using them for political gain.
That's right.
They do not like the law that are on the books. They are the lawmakers. Let them get off their duff and change it.
We are at a position in this country, Doug, and again, Wheels, watch the feedback on these calls, please. We're at a position in this country where, honestly, I think we're up at the precipice of a great big mountain, and any step backward is going to throw us into an abyss that I don't think we can get out of. We're looking at all the infighting in politics. Nothing is getting done. We're looking at a falling away from some of our constitutional values, like no more free speech, for instance, and we're looking at various things that are being thrown up on the left, and they're being playing the harpstrings, that if we don't go along, we're the bad guys. And it's hard to stand up against this idiocy.
Well, it is. It is, and that's just it. They preach tolerance, except for if you don't agree with them, they're not tolerant. You're the one that's intolerant.
Absolutely.
It's their way or the highway. And the Christians need to stand up. The Republicans need to get a backbone. If they're for this country, let's start doing for the country.
Isn't it interesting, Doug, that the Democrats at their national convention, and I'm not making anything up here, you know this is a fact. At their Democratic National Convention, they basically denounced Christianity and denounced God, and now they're coming back and saying that we as conservatives, well, how can you possibly be pro-life and against immigration and you call yourself a Christian? Now they're playing the Christian card and they have no clue what they're talking about.
Exactly. They booed God, now they're using the Bible to, Bible verses to put us down.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't have it both ways.
But the problem is, Doug, that the conservative right, you, me, Tony, anybody else that calls in on this program, we're being laughed at and scoffed at every time we try to put forth our reasoning. I am pro-life. I'm talking about myself right now. I am pro-life. I am against abortion, but I am also against illegal entry into this country. I'm not against legal immigration. I'm against illegal entry into this country, and they all need to be prosecuted. What's wrong with that?
Nothing. If they want to come into this country and they have children, go through a port of entry, state your case, and you can come in legally. If you cross between port of entries, you are breaking the law. Look at all of the people that have been killed by illegal aliens that have been deported over and over, how their children have been stripped from them, or they've been stripped from their children because they are dead because of a illegal alien here illegally and not deported permanently.
And the left, I don't know if you caught this or not, but I'm going to take a minute and share this with you. A writer by the name of Elizabeth Brunig is an opinion columnist at the Washington Post, and she absolutely was railing against Christians, and she was throwing Deuteronomy 10 and Jeremiah 7 and other parts of the Bible against us Christians. And for those that are not familiar with Deuteronomy 10, it says, "For the Lord your God loves the strangers, providing them food and clothing. You shall also love the stranger, for you were strangers in the land of Egypt." You know what? Everybody is welcome in this country because we have an open-door policy for legal immigration for those that want to contribute to the success and the constitutional values of this country. But when you break the law, there still has to be laws, and I want to adhere to the laws. And so I take these liberal loons like this lady Elizabeth Brunig, and I cast away and throw away all their statements that they denounced Christianity at their Democratic National Convention, but now they're throwing it in our face.
They use it when it's convenient for them.
Amen.
And I pity them when they stand in front of God on Judgment Day. They will know the truth then.
You want to hear the height of what I think is absolute lunacy by the left? I'm sure you're probably aware of this. But there is a California elementary school, Doug, that is proposing a name change to honor an illegal alien. This just blows my mind.
It does. It really does. It amazes me every day what they sit and think about to come up with just to throw U.S. citizenship in our face. Like, if they keep doing this, being a U.S. citizen has no benefit.
That's right. And it has no wealth. No wealth in being a citizen.
Exactly.
Yes. I got to run.
They say we're a nation of immigrants, and we are. After World War I and World War II, there was a bunch of people come over here, but they come in the right way. Then, when they got here, they picked up the American flag. They left their nation's flag behind because they knew what they were leaving. And that's why they left to come here, because it was unbearable for them.
You cannot have a clash of cultures and a division and a fractioning of cultures within a one singular nation and expect that nation to survive.
Exactly. The hyphen is going to be the downfall of this nation.
Amen. I got to run. I got another call waiting. Thanks, Doug.
Hey, and also, everybody, let's do what we can for our seniors. Let's rent their facilities. Let's Support them. Donate if you can. God bless.
All right. Thank you very much. Caller, I promise I'll be there in just a moment. I've got to tell everybody about Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. Oh, my. You better make an appointment today at 678-1191. They can help you. Nick Greenwell and his great professional physical therapy staff can help you get back to being you. Of course, with all the exercises and the hydrotherapy pool, I swear by that. It really help me. They can and they will help you at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, and the number to call is 678-1191. Make that appointment today. Wheels, do we have everything ready to go for the Silver State Stampede?
Yes, sir, we do.
Let's hear one of those good words, and then we'll take our next caller. Stand by.
PRCA Rodeo Action thunders into Elko, July 13th, 14th, and 15th at the Elko County Fairgrounds. 3 big days for the 2018 Silver State Stampede. Nevada's oldest rodeo is family entertainment at its finest. This PRCA rodeo brings you the thrill of pro riders going head-to-head in one of the toughest sports in the world. Action kicks off Friday, July 13th with mutton busting, a delicious tri-tip dinner, the Calcutta, Old West bronc riding, PRCA rodeo action, the world-famous Ring of Fear, and dancing to the Jeff Palmer Band. Rodeo fun continues on Saturday and on into Sunday. Gates open on Friday and Saturday at 4 with mutton busting starting at 6 and rodeo action starting at 7. And on Sunday, gates open at noon with mutton busting at 1 and the rodeo action starting at 2. Tickets on sale now at Roy's, J.M. Capriola's, IFA, the Boot Barn, and the Elko Chamber Office. Rodeo action at its finest. With the 2018 Silver State Stampede, July 13th, 14th, and 15th at the Elko County Fairgrounds. For more information, contact silverstatestampede.com.
Excuse me, sir. There you go. It's a whale of an event down there. A lot of fun. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Thank you for your patience.
No one's called yet in either, sir, but I'm still watching the phone.
All right, buddy. I thought we heard that, Kyle. Thank you very much. I think what we're going to do right now is give away a dozen cookies. And, of course, Sophie's Chatterbox at 530 East Street in Rupert, right on the square with the best of a bakery, the best of a restaurant. Everybody's bragging about how delicious it is. All the cookies and the pies and the cakes and the wedding cakes, everything is fantabulous. And so right now we're going to give away a dozen cookies. Thank you to Sophie's Chatterbox in Rupert. And name the comedy team. The brothers, the comedy team of brothers that hit a hot comedy series in the late 60s and early 70s on television. What was the name of the brothers comedy team that really took America by storm for a while on TV back in the late 60s and early 70s? What was their name? They're very well known. Two brothers. What were their names? Call me at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Quickly, and you'll win a dozen cookies. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. It was the Smothers Brothers.
Well, who is this old person that would remember this?
It's Casey.
You know, that's why I said old person. You're still younger than I am, I think.
Just a hair.
Well, a hair matters, but I'll tell you what, it was the Smothers Brothers, and I'll give you the cookies, but do you remember their first names?
Tommy and...
So far, so good.
Yeah, let's see. I don't remember the other one.
Dickie.
Yeah.
Dickie and Tom Smothers. Yep, that's right. And I thought they were funny. I really enjoyed it, and good show. Thank you, Casey. We appreciate it. God bless you, man. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Casey Anderson. He's spot on. It was the Smothers Brothers Comedy Hour. It was a good show. All right, calls are welcome, and that, of course, brought to you by Sophie's Chatterbox, 530 East Street in Rupert. Delicious cookies. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. In California, and this story, you ever talk about a story or about a news item that kind of makes you want to go, yuck, that's yucky. Well, this is Yucky. In California, in San Francisco, not San Francisco all alone because it's happening in L.A. and Sacramento, etc., but in San Francisco, the filth and the drug needles and the drug paraphernalia and the chaos is so bad that a lot of tourist companies, they're trying to figure out how they can show people San Francisco and the former beauty of San Francisco and not expose the tourists to the absolute filth that is going on in that town. Walking or shopping is unbelievably dangerous in San Francisco right now. There are literally thousands and thousands of hypodermic needles laying on the streets. And you have to watch your step for all of the hypodermic needles. And I was a little hesitant to even mention this on the program this morning, but it's relative and a fact to the story. The human filth in piles right on the main thoroughfares to walk and go to businesses, etc., in San Francisco. It's another example. Okay, somebody said to me yesterday, how do we clean it up? Well, you get rid of all the stupid, loony, liberal principles that have created this mess in the first place. These cities are controlled by liberal management, if you want to call it management. And it's got completely out of hand. The thing I criticized on my program, and it's coming true right now, the idiocy and incompetency of giving druggies free hypodermic needles to shoot themselves up with heroin or whatever, and then they, of course, throwing these on the street where some little child, anyone can step on them. I mean, I can't even envision. I cannot, nor do I want to envision the horrific chaos that is going on in that city. And it's being allowed to happen, and it's being encouraged to happen with the liberal policies. It's time to clean it up. And at a point now where it's reached the Sodom and Gomorrah level, I don't know how you'd clean it up. Maybe you've got some idea out there. I don't. It's beyond, I think, repair. Your thoughts. Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. By the way, the Rupert merchants are going to be celebrating Independence Day and, of course, the July 4th celebration. And here's just a couple of them that say, come on over to Rupert for the big 4th of July. Magic Valley Carpet, 613 D Street in Rupert say, hey, we're just a block off the square, and we've got all your flooring needs, carpet, hardwood, vinyl, laminates, tile, all the materials you need, installation guaranteed. Magic Valley Carpet in Rupert, along with Haskin Insurance Service, 629 Fremont Street in Rupert. Number to call, number to remember, 436-4141. Really good folks, and they wish all their customers and friends happy and safe 4th of July. And don't forget, they've got all the insurance that you need for your home, auto, farm, or life at Haskin Insurance Service in Rupert. Really good people. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yeah, but Earl.
Yes, sir.
You were talking about the problem in San Francisco about it isn't safe to walk through the pine needles or the cactus there.
Yeah.
About a month ago, I'm moving hand lines. I ride the four-wheeler down to approach and open the gate and get into the field and move the lines. And there on that approach was 2 insulin needles just thrown out on that approach.
Wow.
And that's up here.
You know, I can't imagine.
The problem is extended.
Yeah. The problem is extended, Earl, but it's a problem of a lack of respect, a lack of decency, and a lack of caring for others that might be exposed to that paraphernalia that's being left on the streets and or up in the hills in the grass. I can't imagine how people can just discard those items with the effect that it could have on others.
The question I brought up is when I picked up the needles and put them in a container, Ziploc, and then a little plastic bucket, is there's no way to trace them.
Yeah. But
no ID on them, nothing.
But, Earl, when you look at the situation of the absolute human chaos that's going on in major cities in this country, how? Simple question. How do you clean it up?
Well, like Trump says, 4 decades of going down this wrong road of allowing people to become welfare recipients and allowing our businesses to be turned over overseas to other countries, and a deficit that's running up high in this country. The only way I can see to stop it, and I'm stepping on your toes here, is to stop all immigration altogether, get our welfare system under control, and put people back to work here at home and improve on our values here.
No, you're not stepping on my toes at all, as a matter of fact. You're absolutely being gracious enough to include me in that, because I adhere to what you just said, and I absolutely agree with it. I am sick of the gimme, gimme, gimme mentality of the liberal left, and it's about time that they develop some self-responsibility and, quite frankly, some self-pride in themselves and pull themselves up by their own bootstraps.
Yeah, I mean, I notice it. There's just too much windshield time out there driving around when there's work to be done.
Amen. I appreciate your call, Earl. Thank you very much for calling in this morning. Have a wonderful day. Thank you so much.
I'll get my ground off tailbone back to work here.
Okay. Thank you, Earl. God bless you, man. Thanks. Caller number 2, I'll be right there. Stand by. Please have patience with me. And I want to remind everybody about Berry Equipment and Rental, sales, service, and parts. And they have three locations serving you. And, of course, one is 159 West Highway 30 in Burley with Juan, 465 Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls with Eli and the crew, and the Nampa location. I'm telling you, the best of equipment rentals, the best of retail equipment sales. They've got all the Bobcats, new and used excavators for sale and or rent, all shapes and sizes. Check it out today with the people that really know and can help you. Berry Equipment and Rental, Burley, Twin Falls, and Nampa. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning, Zeb. It's kind of interesting you just mentioned that. About 3 or 4 days ago, I read an article that the backlash is already starting against San Francisco. But what's happening is that there are a huge number of companies who have booked conventions there who are all backing out because of what is going on there. And that's just adding on to the tourists that won't be going there or anything like that either. So Frisco is going to be taking it in the shorts as far as the money bringing in and everything to the city itself. And so the backlash is already starting, and hopefully they're going to start seeing the error of their ways.
I hope so, but I'm wondering, with the stupidity of the Democratic left in this country, if there can be a cleaning and a purging and an elimination of some of the chaos, and I'll quite frankly use these terms, Sodom and Gomorrah attitude that's going on in many United States cities today because of liberalism that's out of control.
Yeah, and it really has. And I don't know why we didn't get up off our butt and stop it when we had the chance to stop it.
Amen. Amen. Thank you. Thank you for your patience, too. I appreciate your calls. Thank you so much.
Not a bit of a problem.
All right, sir.
Day.
Thank you. You know, I really wonder, I've been to all those cities, New York, San Francisco, L.A., Sacramento, Chicago, the list goes on. I'm not bragging, I'm just saying because of my work I've been there. And you talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. I've seen the seedy side of New York. I've seen the very seedy side of L.A. And the exposure of what they're doing to others from around the world is demeaning and denigrating to our entirety of the United States of America. But when you have massive amounts of hypodermic needles, and one of the TV reporters that I was listening to said he had to watch his step as they were filming with his photographer, and he was doing the story for the script, and he had to watch his step because he was stepping on so many hypodermic needles, he was afraid that one would impale up through his foot. And the stench, and the smell, and the vileness from these people living like animals and treating the world as if they were animals with the human filth all over, even in front of some of the doorsteps of businesses in the area. We can't continue to live like this. We as a nation, there has got to be a strict, firm hand at the wheel that is going to say enough is enough of this insanity and clean it up. Yes, people are going to get hurt. Yes, people are going to be outraged. Yes, people might try to take some kind of an action, but it's got to happen. You can't keep allowing this kind of filth and chaos to continue in America if America's going to continue to be. You've got to stop it. You have to stop it. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Stupid mayors that have no business being in politics. As a matter of fact, they'd be better off stocking shelves at a grocery store someplace, like Bill de Blasio, Rahm Emanuel. The list goes on. We've got to stop this leadership that says, oh, well, it's okay. Everybody just float your own boat, do your own thing, and we, the government, will supply you the means and the tools to continue living in this world of idiocy. It's got to stop. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Well, I have a moment. I'd like to acknowledge the fact that we're going to have a weather forecast right now, brought to you by some really wonderful people, Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, and they are right behind the Minidoka Hospital, across from the emergency room, Dr. Pickup and Dr. Mitchell, serving you and your family. They're a full service to help you hear again, and they're even expanding their services to help small children who are having hearing problems, even infants. Call them today for an appointment, 312-0957, Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Right now, here's our weather.
Here's your weather forecast as we begin another work week, and it's going to be a wet one. Here's your weather forecast for us up at the ranch. We are expecting scattered rain showers and thunderstorms. Those thunderstorms are mostly going to be in the afternoon, and some of those storms could produce small hail, gusty winds, and heavy rain. Mostly cloudy skies, expecting a high of 66 tonight. That could continue. Gusty winds as well, heavy rain, mostly cloudy skies with a low of 49. Tomorrow, pretty much the same, 50% chance of rain showers and thunderstorms in the forecast. Those thunderstorms mostly going to be in the afternoon. Looking at a high of 70 for Tuesday night, mostly cloudy, chance of rain showers. Low of 50 by Wednesday. It promises that we're going to see some sunshine with a high of 76 and then mostly sunny and 82 for Thursday. That's your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
Brought to you by some wonderful people that have been on our program for a long time. And everybody I talk to that goes there, they're so happy with the net result. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Wonderful people. Dr. Pickup, Dr. Mitchell, very concerned about your hearing health. Call for an appointment at 312-0957. All right, let's give me a call at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Our economy, I know I complain about the gas prices, and rightfully so. All of us should be complaining about the gas prices because it's absolutely a fraudulent ripoff. But our economy in this country in general is really, really growing underneath the management of this administration. It is. And Donald Trump and his administration get absolutely no credit. None. As a matter of fact, they don't get the credit, they get criticism. And the New York Times came out with a headline that basically blames Trump for a straining world economy. Those are the key words. Straining world economy. In other words, the New York Times doesn't understand that right now we are seeing the lowest unemployment in 44 years. I'll say it again. The lowest unemployment in 44 years. 44-year low. If you want a job, and you want to work, and you want to be responsible, and you want to try to make something of yourself, there are jobs out there. I was absolutely shocked, and I mean this. My wife is sitting out in the other room. And the other day, we took a little tour around the area, and we just started looking at the reader boards of various businesses that say, help wanted, help wanted, help wanted, help wanted, help wanted. And there are jobs out there. I do not understand why we have so many people that are reliant upon what is being given to them in the form of welfare. Now, let me stop right there. I know that a lot of you are going to bristle up and you're going to say, well, I can't help it. I can't work. I'm not criticizing those that absolutely need the help. I've said that 1,000 times in the past. But what I'm going to bristle up as, we have a lot of people that absolutely are of physical ability, and they're still gouging the system. I have talked to so many business leaders. I've talked to so many business owners right here in this area that absolutely can't find good quality help. And then I scratch my head, and I look at the numbers on welfare and the money that we're spending, and these people, many of which are able to get a job, go off the dole and support themselves, they won't. They won't. And what's going to change this? What is going to change this? I mean, people, I remember, used to go out and say, boy, I got to go find a job today. And they look and they come back and they call and they say, I just couldn't find anything. I keep looking. Well, it's not that case today. There are jobs out there, a lot of good jobs out there. If people will try to be self-responsible and go to work. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I was listening to another television show over the weekend, and there was a commentary about the Democrats do not have any growth plans for America. And I listened with intent and interest because really it was true. All they have is absolutely, and this is perverted, supported by the perverted media, the leftist media in this country, all they have is a complete hatred for this administration and Donald Trump because, quite frankly, it's being successful. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, sir.
There's one last thought. With this new GDP report coming out, they're going to say it's going to be 4% plus.
Yep.
I am just waiting to how Nancy Pelosi and the Dems are going to describe that as crumbs and not good for America.
Doug, I do not understand how they can allow themselves, the Democratic Party, the once proud Democratic Party, going back to the days of JFK, even to Hubert Humphrey from Minnesota and many others, how they have let themselves slip into this abyss of nothing on their platform but hate.
That's all they've got. The only thing they're going to run on is repeal the tax reform, one, single-payer health care. And if you want single-payer health care, look at the VA and see how well it's operating.
Yeah.
And you take that times 10 is what single-payer health care is going to be.
But
it's going to be like that baby over in England that the government would not let him leave the country, go to someplace else that was willing to take him for free to try to save his life. They said no.
And stop right there. If that were your son, your child, would you adhere to the law and stay there and not give your son or child a fighting chance? I dare say you would do anything to save the life of your child.
I'd have walked in and picked up my son, and I'd have walked out, and I'll be damned somebody tried to stop me.
Amen. I do not understand this insanity. Getting back to our economy and jobs and the GDP and the lowest employment in 44 years. I talked to, like I said a moment ago, Doug, I've talked to so many employers that are just absolutely standing at the door right now begging people to come in and apply for a job.
Drive through Burley.
Yeah.
And look at how many help wanted signs are out. And yet we still have these people on welfare. That is absurd.
Well, you know as well as I do, and again, I'll clarify, that there are those that need and there are those that have to be helped. There's no question about that. But there is also a large percentage of the users and abusers to the system that need to be thrown off now.
Exactly. The ones that are third and fourth generations that their parents and grandparents have taught them what to say and what to write so they can get it.
Amen. But when we have a job problem in this country, and it's not a lack of jobs, it's an excess amount of jobs so that employers can grow and prosper, and the money in the community will turn over 4 and 5 times or more, and the entire community prospers. But when you have people begging for jobs, or begging for employment, I should say, you've got a problem that's going to be exacerbated all over this country because people have lost the self-responsibility to work.
Exactly. It's really work is, when you get my age, it's work, but it's really gratifying to know that you went and you've done something, you've accomplished it by yourself, you've saved your money, you've bought this, you've bought that car, you bought this house by yourself. It is gratifying. But just to sit on a couch and draw welfare checks, I'd go stir crazy.
What a waste of a life and the blessings that God has provided. What a waste to sit there and be nothing more than a leech on the system.
Exactly.
Got to run. Doug, thank you so much.
Help those that need it, but don't support those that are unwilling to support themselves.
Absolutely.
Basically interpretation of what it says.
Absolutely. Thank you, Doug. Appreciate it. Thank you much. Don't forget your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you and serving you well. I'm telling you, get ready for a road trip and check out all the different tires, all the different tread designs, everything right there for you to take off on a road trip and enjoy. Load the kids in the car and put the cooler in there with all the water and the pop and everything, and take off and enjoy and drive safely with the tires that they have for you at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. And don't forget, too, they offer a free pre-trip safety check where they'll check the air pressure in your tires, the brake components, and, of course, the wheel alignment for tire wear, front-end components, shocks and struts, battery, including a load test, all of this and more for you for you as a service from your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Center. Stop in and see Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley. The best. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Wow, we got a full plate here this morning of some super great people like Richard Manning, and Richard's going to be on at 9:06, of course, this man, president of the Americans for Limited Government, and then at 9:30, Al Parada with the stream, absolutely interesting. James Herson, Hollywood attorney, is going to be on at 10:06, and Joseph Tartakovsky is going to be on at 10:30 talking about his book called The Lives of the Constitution. That should be very interesting. Let's see, what else have I got cooking for today? Oh, tomorrow, I want to quickly remind you, don't forget tomorrow, Vicky's Country Garden at 9:30, and then followed by Stoats Equipment Company's Ag Minutes, your John Deere dealer. We got all kinds of things here. Right now, we're going to get ready to go to the news from CBS, and then we'll be back at 9:06. Wheels has got a little music. Take it away, buddy. Appreciate it. Thank you. Oh, thank you, and welcome back. Zeb at the Ranch on a Monday. And, of course, brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you. Get ready for a road trip with the best and the safest of tires. And also, we want to say a big thank you to some of our advertisers, like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Right now, Wheels, this good word for Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're all at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal.
Oh, my goodness sakes, if you're not on the route service so they can come out to your place once a week, pick up your garbage, and wave goodbye to your garbage, I'm telling you, it's gone, it's out of there. Thanks to the good folks at Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Easy to get on the route service. Call them at 734-6969, Western Waste Services. By the way, too, community-oriented folks over at Hanson Mortuary. They are there to serve you at 710 6th Street in Rupert, you and your family. Joel Heward, manager, his family, and the staff, serving you always with the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity. Please remember the number to call, 436-5636, Hanson Mortuary with Joel Heward. And Joel also serving you and your family at Morrison Payne Funeral Home on East Main in Burley. Real quick, before we go to our guest, and I know he's chomping on the bit, we want to say good morning to Ark Animal Hospital. Hello, Dr. Bill and Dr. Jordan and the whole crew. Ark Animal Hospital at 750 21st Street near Connection Credit Union in Heyburn. Absolutely a mixed animal practice, meaning they can take care of your dogs and kitty cats all the way up to your dairy cows. Everything. They want to make sure that you and your livestock have the best of animal health. Absolutely serving you. So give them a call today at 678-1177. Ark Animal Hospital in Heyburn, having the warm hearts for the cold noses. Well, I don't know if his nose is cold, but I can guarantee you he knows what's going on in the world and in politics, and that's the president of Americans for Limited Government. Hello, Richard Manning. How are you?
I'm doing great, but no, my nose is not cold.
Well,
so sadly, I can't. I won't be able to solve those problems, but I maybe we can solve a few other ones.
You know, Richard, I really appreciate you coming on. You're a straightforward guy, very honest, and I'm sick and tired of the left and their kind of circling the wagons every night about something that's going on in this country. Now they are saying and comparing that the children at the border that have been brought here illegally by their parents and they crossed illegally, now they're saying that those children are being placed in concentration camps. It's absolutely insidious what the left is trying to say and do. What are your thoughts about this?
Okay. This is an issue that is obviously the left did some polling, and they decided this was something they were going to try to do, and the goal was to have an immigration bill up on the floor of the House this week, and this was all built towards this week. And it was a pre-planned thing that they did. Here's the reality. In 2014, we know that Obama was putting children in cages. We know that because they released a picture of children in cages, blaming Trump for it, when in fact it was a 2014 picture. The big challenge that they have at the border is this. You have all these people showing up in caravans. There are children in the caravans. And some of these children don't really look like children because they've got tattoos from head to toe, but they claim to be children nonetheless. So you have children in these caravans. The children, they don't know who they belong to. They don't know who their parents are. They don't know if their parents are in the caravan or not. So what they have to do is they have to separate the children from the adults, because under the law, children are treated differently than the adults who come across the border illegally. And now understand, 80% of the girls who come across the border say they were raped on the trip from their from where they left to where they got to getting here. 80%, 8 in 10 were raped. I'm not talking about having somebody make a crude comment and being offended. I'm talking about physically raped. So the law enforcement people are saying, we don't know who the child offenders are. We do not know who the pedophiles are in the mix. We don't know who the real parents are. So they separate the children from the adults so they can figure it out. And they put them into facilities that are essentially they're probably the best places these people have ever lived. They get 3 square meals. They get to play with each other and be children. So we have but their parents aren't there. And why aren't their parents there? Because we don't know who their parents are.
Right.
They're not coming with birth certificates. They're not coming with documentation. These people are, by definition, undocumented. It would be inhumane to send, if you've got somebody who's a child pornographer, who's bringing kids across the border, to then send those kids with their tormentors, because the tormentor claims the kids were legitimately theirs, to send them and allow them to enter our society through some kind of reentry program, which has been set up through a lot of the churches. What kind of people would send children who were effectively taken from their homes, brought across our border, abused, and then send them with their abusers without trying to figure out what the truth was?
Absolutely.
So the borders, where everybody's sitting there making their big cry about, that may be some of these children's only hope in their life to get away from the physical abusers who have essentially used them on a 1,000-mile journey north. So, yeah, I think we need to separate the children. We need to find out what the truth is, and we need to protect those children from the predators that are likely being transported with.
That was one, and I'm serious when I say this, that was one of the best dissertations I've heard about this problem from anybody. You should have had that taped. I'll provide the tape to anybody. That should have been on Fox, ABC, NBC, every station, because that was exactly the way it's happening. I am fed up with being called anti-Christian because I absolutely am demanding that we have legal immigration into this country, but the left is terming it immigration in general, and that's the furthest thing from the truth. These people are coming here illegally and should be treated as such. Your thoughts?
Well, we're either going to have borders or we're not. And, if we're not going to have borders, then just, take an eraser and just understand that the Constitution no longer applies. And, Declaration of Independence is an interesting old document that you can't really, it's kind of scribbled out. And we have a system that we no longer have a system of laws. So, apart from that, that's alternative A, which is to have no borders, which some people argue for, neither physical nor economic. And system B is we have borders and we enforce those borders, and we try to do our best with as humanely as possible to try to figure out when somebody comes across what the right thing to do is. The immediate right thing to do is an adult who comes across needs to be sent back to where they came from. That is enforcing your borders.
Absolutely.
That's kind of non-negotiable. A child who's brought across becomes a little more difficult. But if your first priority, as some of the left is saying, is not separate children from families, then the only humane thing to do is if you determine that the child is a family member of said individual who crossed the border illegally, then that child should be sent home with the parent because you don't want to separate families. So if that's the value that the left wants to put as the number one value is not to separate families, then the only humane thing to do is to send kids back to where they came from.
Richard, I'm an old man at 70 years of age, but I'll tell you one thing, this FBI mess and the time that we're wasting and the money that's being spent right now on this investigation is absolutely ridiculous. When we have a world that's ready to blow up at a moment's notice, they're spending all this time on the FBI agent Strzok and etc. This thing where he made a comment like, "We'll stop him," referring to Peter Strzok, the FBI investigator. This thing needs to be pursued. That man should be in prison, but he's still working at the FBI. What's going on here?
Federal civil service laws won't allow him to be fired. That's what's wrong. We have a civil service. I was just in this discussion with staff here. Everybody's frustrated that a lot of these people are still working and being paid by taxpayers, and basically they ran a coup. They haven't succeeded yet, still trying, and yet they're still being paid by taxpayers to run a coup. It's the strangest darn thing I've ever seen. But the fact is, until we allow the Attorney General the ability to fire employees who are civil servants who are not performing their duties, we're stuck with Peter Strzok sitting there in the Human Relations Department collecting a high six-figure salary. I mean, that's the reality, and it is the failing of our civil service system. And I will tell you, we are pushing really, really hard for some civil service reform that would allow for all of the cabinet secretaries to be able to fire non-performing employees the same way that the Congress decided that the VA secretary would be able to do so. And we're pushing for that hard because ultimately, if somebody's a non-performing employee, I don't care if it's because they were busy texting every 3 minutes to their girlfriend about current events, or if they were running a coup, or if they're just sitting at their desk, eating oatmeal all day and not doing any work. I don't really care what those things are. If they're a non-performing employee, taxpayers shouldn't have to pay for them, and the cabinet secretary should be able to fire them. And that's the answer, is to allow for that power. And right now, Cabinet Secretary Jeff Sessions cannot fire them. He can order that they be fired, but the civil service protection system will kick into place, and effectively, 5 years from now, we may get them before a board to fire them. So it's a system that's gamed in terms of the civil servants and in terms of the bad civil servants, and we have to change that game. And the only way to do it is on these funding bills that are coming up, is to put language in that allows for the cabinet secretaries to do just that, fire non-performing federal employees.
Richard, how could anyone, and I consider myself fairly knowledgeable on this subject, I try to read everything I can get my hands on, but this IG report that came out, how could anyone not ascertain that there was definite bias from the parties that be, the FBI, etc., against Donald Trump? How could they come up that there was not bias against him and the election?
Great question. It's pretty obvious to anybody who's sentient. If they're doing the Hillary investigation and they call her Madam President, they don't take notes when Comey asks or anything. Sits down with her after they've already made a determination what they were going to come out with, and the whole thing, the bias was implicit in the whole process. But Zeb, one of the problems is when people share a bias. When they share a bias, they don't see it as bias. They see it as common sense. And so the media, most of the media, shares the bias with the FBI, with those FBI agents who sought to undermine the Trump campaign. And you will never convince them that it was bias, because bias is bad in the lexicon. And they couldn't possibly share a trait that's bad. So they can't see it because they agree with it. That's how come people can't see it. It's just psychology. And sadly, it shows how corrupted our system is, that something that is so obvious in terms of its both implications, negative implications, and its danger to the country, that we don't have a near unanimous uproar that something has to be done about it, and instead it's a ho-hum, because most people, they don't know what to make of it. They just know that, okay, the FBI was against Trump, and Trump won anyway, and now they're still there, and they can't figure it out. They just say, kind of throw up their hands and say, what do we do about it? It's when the government institutions themselves are so corrupted, how do you deal with those government institutions? How do you trust them?
Yeah.
And ultimately, that's a real problem. Is long term, the danger to the republic is that a federal law enforcement official coming in and testifying against somebody used to mean something. And you know what? If I were on a jury, and I'm saying this so I can be forever disqualified from federal juries. If I were on a federal jury and an FBI agent came up and said, "This is what happened," boom, boom, boom. I would be perhaps even more skeptical of that FBI agent than the defense witness. And the implicit bias in the juror has always been, even though you're not supposed to do this, is to give added weight to the cop because they're perceived as being a non-biased entity. But in the case of the FBI, I don't trust them as far as I can throw them, and it's too bad. But they've lost their sheen of being a neutral third party that's just trying to enforce the law.
Absolutely.
And so maybe that's the way our system's supposed to work. But federal convictions are going to be much more difficult based upon this, because people are not going to accept the FBI as being the answer and being truthful. They're going to be skeptical of them every bit as much as they're skeptical of the defense witness.
Absolutely. Richard, in the time remaining, I've got one more question I want to ask you about, and I've been to all of these cities, New York, Chicago, San Francisco, L.A., and right now, the filth and the drug problem in those major cities and the homelessness and the attitude of who cares is so wide spent in those cities that tourism is going to be cut back because people are afraid of getting into an area where they might step on a hypodermic needle or even into massive human filth. If you had the power this afternoon to clean up these cities, what charges would you take?
Well, first of all, I'd end sanctuary cities. I'd just say you can't exist. You don't get to exempt yourself. You don't get to be a secessionist from the laws of the United States. So I'd end sanctuary cities. Secondly, I would, Rudy Giuliani had a program in New York that cleaned it up, and that's called the Broken Windows Program. And because it created a sense that if there was a broken window, it was fixed. So when you have graffiti on the wall, it was fixed. So there was no sense of any place that was a hangout for gang members. If people were selling drugs on the corner, you attacked it, and you basically cleaned it up. So there was no place that people knew, if I go here, I'm going to be able to find a prostitute, I'm going to go find gang, I'm going to find drugs. So so it was really an aggressive policing strategy. It's become, that policing strategy has come under attack, and for some good reasons. I mean, there were massive arrests, disproportionately affecting the African American community in places like Baltimore and the like. But the fact is that was important to cleaning up the mess that existed. Right now, in San Francisco, is such a disaster that that the San Francisco Chamber of Commerce is coming out and saying, with complaints because tourists are going. I thought this was a good part of San Francisco, and it's just infested with literally homeless people and the defecation on the streets and the like, and needles. Up in Seattle, the opioid epidemic is so bad amongst the homeless population that the fish and the mollusks off of the shore of Seattle have been found to have opioids in their system.
Oh my!
That means we're having raw sewage going into the water.
Oh my!
And the wildlife, the fish and mollusks, are actually consuming that because the mollusks, that's what they do. They're bottom feeders, and so they consume that, and they're showing up to having opioids, so they're not edible.
Oh my!
That's how bad it is in places like Seattle, and so we have a problem, and you have to clean it up. And the best way you can do to clean it up is to just say we're cleaning it up. And that's first step is no more sanctuary cities and reenact the broken windows policies that Giuliani had in New York. I think if you did those things within 6 months, the problem would be gone.
We have a caller with a quick question before we have to end our conversation. Caller, quickly, you're on the air, real fast.
Well, the other day, I think it was on Tucker Carlson, somebody had tweeted or texted a message about how they were there for a convention, and they were trying to get from point A to point B, and they were, confronted with the smell, the homelessness, the smell of feces and urine, and on a hot day or maybe even when it rained, how it reconstitutes, so to speak, and how it's just an absolute disaster.
Quickly, caller.
Yeah, these sanctuary cities, these liberal cities are just falling apart. I'll hang out.
Richard, respond to the caller quickly, please.
You're right. I think in California, you can look at the election, the gubernatorial election, which will be a referendum on San Francisco. Gavin Newsom, the former mayor of San Francisco, against a Republican candidate, and it's going to be a referendum on San Francisco, and I think you're going to find a little bit of a rebellion in California, of all places, against those sanctuary cities.
Richard, I can't compliment you enough for the excellent job you do. The president of the Americans for Limited Government, Richard Manning, the best. Thank you, and talk to you next Monday, my friend.
Thank you, Zeb.
Thank you, sir. You can learn a lot by listening to Richard Manning every week right here at 9:06. Thank you very much. And caller, thank you for your question. Right now, Wheels, can we have this good word for the Silver State Stampede?
PRCA Rodeo Action thunders into Elko, July 13th, 14th, and 15th at the Elko County Fairgrounds. 3 big days for the 2018 Silver State Stampede. Nevada's oldest rodeo is family entertainment at its finest. This PRCA rodeo brings you the thrill of pro riders going head-to-head in one of the toughest sports in the world. Action kicks off Friday, July 13th with mutton busting, a delicious tri-tip dinner, the Calcutta, Old West bronc riding, PRCA rodeo action, the world-famous Ring of Fear, and dancing to the Jeff Palmer Band. Rodeo fun continues on Saturday and on into Sunday. Gates open on Friday and Saturday at 4 with mutton busting starting at 6 and rodeo action starting at 7. And on Sunday, gates open at noon with mutton busting at 1 and the rodeo action starting at 2. Tickets on sale now at Roy's, J.M. Capriola's, IFA, the Boot Barn, and the Elko Chamber Office. Rodeo action at its finest. With
with the 2018 Silver State Stampede, July 13th, 14th, and 15th at the Elko County Fairgrounds. For more information, contact silverstatestampede.com.
Well, okay, thank you, sir. Appreciate that. And right now, I also want to remind you, one of the segments on my program that we're getting a lot of response to is the old fishing hole with the expert fisherman Josh from Sportsman's Warehouse. And every Thursday, that's on the air at 10:30, and he's actually fishing while he's on this program. Don't forget to stop into Sportsman's Warehouse. Everything for your fishermen and everything for the hunter and the campers, all the knives and the food, the guns, the ammo, the clothing, all of this and more at 1940 Bridgeview Boulevard in Twin Falls. Sportsman's Warehouse. You stop in and see Reese and the crew today. Really good folks. By the way, before we go to our next guest, I want to remind you, too, a big thank you to our friends at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. Jeff and the rest of the crew, oh my, they've got everything right there, all your carpeting needs. They've got all your furniture needs, like your reclining sofas and all your recliners and your love seats. They absolutely have everything for the beautification and the comfort of your home. And they've got a staff there that really understands and knows and can help you. All you need to do is stop in there to Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More with Jeff and the crew at 459 Overland in Burley. You stop in and see them today. By the way, tomorrow, don't forget, we've got at 9:30 Vicky's Country Garden, 185 South, 600 West of Paul, coming on our program. This lady has been in business at Vicky's Country Garden for 21 years. She knows and she can answer all your gardening questions. Don't forget to tune in tomorrow at 9:30 Vicky's Country Garden in Paul. The number to call, 438-5663. Right now, let's go back to the phone line, and we have a gentleman that writes for The Stream, and I'm very honored to have him on the show this morning again. Al Parada, how are you, Al?
Okay, how you doing today?
Not too bad. Well, listen, I'm so glad that you are on the program this morning, because just a few minutes ago I was visiting with my good friend Richard Manning about basically kind of the same thing we're going to talk about this morning. How in the world can this IG report come out, Inspector General report come out, and you can read it, you can comprehend for yourself, but how could anybody with an open mind not take it as a biased approach against Donald Trump and his possible election as president? Explain that.
Well, one image that comes to mind, you were talking about fishing a minute ago, I'm thinking of a duck. That he described a duck in every way, shape, or form, but just didn't want to call it a duck. So that's how I'm kind of getting around the notion, because you're right, it is... the whole thing is filled with bias, and the facts that he laid out, each spell out, add up to a bias. What I think happens here a little bit is he would take a fact, a decision made by the investigators, and then if they came up with a rational reason that was within policy, he'd give it a okay. But the problem is, in my estimation, is that all the decisions that were all made in a manner that benefits Hillary, that benefited Hillary Clinton. Now, the thing is, if you're making decisions, it's a coin toss, you're getting, a 50-50 shot that a decision made to interview this witness, to press this witness, to make this decision. It should be 50-50, and then let's see where you end up. Every decision went her way, and I calculated that if you took just 25 of the decisions made, 25 alone, that all went Hillary, that's like a 1 in 67 million chance. This thing, the investigation against her was biased, and you can't get around it.
Al, there's 3 words that really scare me, and I mean that, I'm scared. When an FBI agent is corresponding with his lover, And the lover says, boy, I'm paraphrasing, boy, I'm kind of worried that he might win the election. And the other person says, don't worry, we'll stop him. We'll stop him. That makes kind of an inference that there might be some illegality or even danger involved. Did you not perceive that the same way?
That was my first reaction when I heard that. That's game, set, match. That one text will stop it. Okay? And when you talk about his girlfriend, his lover, forget the romance. She was a top dog FBI lawyer.
Yep.
So we're talking about a top FBI lawyer. In other words, a lawyer what does a lawyer do? A lawyer makes some of the decisions in terms of, okay, what is allowed, what isn't, what is the interpretation? Like, for example, in the Hillary case, for example, the interpretation of what is intent. What does intent mean? Well, to normal people, when you create a server that's outside of the government server, your intent is to keep that information away from people. That is intent, right? But they decided that they made that legal, narrow definition of what they meant by intent. Well, that's a lawyer decision. So you're talking again about, like you talk about Strzok being in a position of being willing to use his official power, and this was a powerful guy.
Yep.
In a way, he's more powerful than somebody like Comey, who was the administrative head, the guy who goes to has all the meetings with the big shots. But the guy on the ground power, the one who actually runs the engines, he had that power, and he wanted to use that power for a specific purpose, which was to impact the election and stop Donald Trump. And he was working on that investigation. That investigation. When he made that text, they had just started the Russian investigation. They had just launched it days before, and now you got this high lawyer as part of the we. Who else is part of the we? That McCabe. They talked about a plan in his office. Who else is part of that we? That's the question when Michael Horowitz, the Inspector General, goes before Congress today. That's a question I want to know.
Well,
who are the we?
The words...
Consider we. Those people were out to destroy Donald Trump.
Absolutely.
They had the power to do it.
Al, the words will stop him. The we is a plural of somebody else besides him, somebody besides Strzok, somebody that might be higher up. And by the way, your inference about his power is very well said, because this person, Peter Strzok, was the number 2 man on this investigating team, and he had a lot of power and a lot of people below him. I'm really scared about those 3 words, will stop him. Yes.
Again, if there was, you could almost, you can't do it really, but in a way you can say if it was out of context, but it wasn't out of context. It's in the context of the insurance policy to be taken, against Trump. It's in the context of all the decisions that were made to let Hillary slide and then to launch this investigation. Thank God there's a second part of this IG report that will deal with the Trump investigation. But there's a whole big picture of actions that were taken. If there was a will stop it, and then a month later, Peter Strzok buries the news. Peter Strzok and McCabe bury the news of the emails discovered on Weiner's computer. They held that for a month. They didn't do anything with it. They sat on that information for a month, and it wasn't until New York people started yelling and screaming that they finally decided to act. Well, that was the decision. That's a way to stop Trump. One way to stop Trump, you don't delve into what was in Weiner's emails.
Right.
They took actions. It's more than just some guy talking to his girlfriend, trying to comfort her. No, they took actions.
What about
clear within the report?
Al, what about in your studies? And by the way, Will's a little feedback on the line here. But in your studies of writing this piece for the stream, and it's a very well-written article, what did you find that you didn't know? What scares you the most about this information with the insidious people with the FBI, perhaps also the Mueller investigation, which I think should be nullified right now? What did you find out that maybe you didn't know beforehand?
Well, I'll go back again to the "will stop it," and the fact that text existed, and the fact that even in the report it says that text something had happened to the text. Somebody had gotten rid of it, and it was only because they were able to, the OIG's, tech guys were able to go dig it out of Strzok and Page's phones they know it existed. That means somebody got rid of it. And so that means there's even another level in there of trying to protect these people, because Congress didn't get this email or get this text. So so the big, like I said, that would be the most shocking thing, that this was that clear, it was that blatant, and it had not come out earlier. Peter Strzok still works for the FBI. Was he not asked about? Is there any other text or anything else we need to know about this?
Yeah.
Was he not asked? Did he not give up more information? Yeah, you know what? There's another text. There's some other texts out there that were pretty bad. No. So there's another level here. That's what worries me. To this, that it's not just a couple rogue people. It's the culture within the DOJ at the time and the FBI at the time, culture of the Obama administration at the time, and just the grand size of it, I guess, is a pretty scary thing, like you say. This is no game. No game when the FBI decides trying to pick winners and losers in elections.
You just said something that I'd like you to elaborate on. You said there's another level to this. Peter Strzok had a boss. Even though he was a very powerful man in the FBI, he had a boss. He had an answerability for his actions and what's being done and not being done to a higher level. So that addresses what you said. There is another higher level. I think this thing is going to go clear to the top, and it's going to show exactly a complete comprehensive program on how the left wanted to totally destroy anybody that might jeopardize Hillary Clinton.
Amen. I mean, again, it's there. It's one of these things. This case is one of those ones where there's so many different pieces, but they all point in one direction. We're talking about Lisa Page. When Trump secured the nomination, what did Lisa Page do? She texts, oh my gosh, he's going to be the nominee. And what else did she say? That there was going to be extreme pressure to end the Hillary Clinton investigation, to wrap it up. What happens? That day, she makes an appointment. She schedules a meeting at the White House. What happens? The next day, she has a meeting at the White House. It goes a long time.
Right.
What happens? That same day, the Washington Post leaks that people close to the investigation don't think that Hillary had any intent to mishandle classified information. That, you know what I mean? It's like within 24 hours, they're already putting out there this notion about that she didn't have the intent. What happened at that White House meeting? I'd love to know what happened at that White House meeting. So, you're right. If you think this thing stops, particularly the Russian investigation, but particularly even the Hillary investigation, if you don't think this doesn't go all the way to the White House, that's nuts. Because what else did they do? They downplayed the language that made clear that Barack Obama lied through his teeth about what he knew about Hillary's email situation. He denied knowing that there was a separate server, but hey, he emailed her, and that was in the original draft of the letter, the announcement that was clearing her. But then they got that out of there. How'd that get out of there? Who made that decision?
Right.
Yeah.
Al, let me ask you about one other situation, and on this program, I don't like to speculate, but in this case, I'm going to make some allowances. I want to go back to the meeting on the tarmac at the airport in Phoenix with Loretta Lynch and Bill Clinton. If you were to tell me, like they have, that they were just getting together to show pictures of their grandchildren, I will hang up the phone.
That's an interesting one, too. Somebody's lying. Bill Clinton or Loretta Lynch is lying about that, about how did Bill Clinton get on board. He says he just wanted to say hi and maybe shake her hand when she got off the plane, but she's the one who called him up onto the plane. Say, hey, it's hot out there, come on board. She's saying she was ready to get off the plane, and all of a sudden she's being told Bill Clinton wants to come on board to talk to her. If they can't even figure out how the guy got on the plane, what makes you think anything else they're saying is true? And they didn't talk about grandkids. According to Loretta Lynch, they weren't that social. She didn't have a social relationship with the Clintons. So she's hours late. She's going to hold up, be even later, just to talk to Bill Clinton, who she doesn't have a social relationship with, about grandkids?
It's absolute nonsense. We have a caller with a question for you, Al. Hold on, please. Caller, you're on the air. Speak up, please. Go ahead.
Well, Al, I wanted you to tell me what you thought about Gowdy and Nunez demanding these documents from the DOJ, and Rosenstein is resisting, and whether or not Wednesday will actually get them, because they said if something doesn't happen by Wednesday, the crap is going to hit the fan, so to speak. But then there was a judge, Napolitano on Fox, said, well, they're not going to turn them over. They're going to take it across the street, and then a judge is going to decide whether or not Nunez and Gowdy get to have these documents. I'll hang up.
Respond to that, please, Al, if you would.
It's mad. It's a mad situation because either one of two things is going on. There are documents they're trying to withhold because they are part of criminal investigations that we do not know about, and they're trying to hold that stuff tight. Or, as a culture, Rosenstein, who's part of that culture, is still trying to protect the agency, not the truth in the American way. Now, he has not given me any confidence that he's out to protect truth, or he's out for truth in this matter, and that he's not trying to protect the agency. There's too many decisions that seem to have come by over the last, that past year or so that seem to be about CYA, protecting the agency. Even what the FBI director was saying the other day about the report. Again, we're honorable, we're this, we're that. No, that report talks about a culture of protection and corruption that is staggering. So my take is there is going to be a battle because Congress does have that oversight authority, and they should get that stuff until they can. And it's going to be up to Rosenstein to prove, I think, to Congress and the American people, maybe even to a judge, that, here's why these things cannot be handed over. Otherwise, they're just slow rolling this thing, trying to push it off, pass the election, and praying that the Democrats take over power, and all this goes away.
Yeah. Al, final thoughts here this morning. Does it scare you as a writer that we have reached a point in America that honesty doesn't prevail anymore? You can cover it up with a lie. Who cares about the American people? Who cares about the first three words that we all live by, we the people of the United States? Are you afraid that we've lost our value and our moral integrity in this country?
Well, yes, but I also am grateful that on November 8th of 2016, the American people made a decision that is helping expose a lot of this stuff. What horrifies me is the thought of what would have happened had Hillary Clinton been elected. None of this would have come out. None of that culture of corruption that they're talking about in terms of leaks to the media, being above it all the things you see in that report, none of that stuff would have been exposed. So the fact that it's getting exposed, it is painful, it is scary, but it is being exposed, and that is one step better than it would have been had she won.
I will say this, and you can respond quickly. I think the old adage, you ain't seen nothing yet, baby, can really come true in all of this absolute waste that we're having in front of the American public. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes, because the second IG report deals with the Russian investigation, and that's where you're going to start getting into the bias that's obvious. We'll stop it. And like maybe documents messed with, and all the whole other actions that are a lot more obviously criminal, or obviously were wrong. Not telling judges about Hillary's connections to the dossier, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, we ain't seen nothing yet because maybe Horowitz is kind of saving his powder, and then the second one is the one where the actions were taken that cannot be defended.
But
they were able to defend some of the stuff they did. It just happened; they all happened to benefit Hillary. In the other case, they might be trying to defend the indefensible.
Yeah,
and that's where the rubber will meet the road. Is with the second one, because that was the effort to stop Trump, and they said it. We'll stop Trump.
Yeah,
and that's a guy expecting in a position of power, able to execute that power. And again, we keep repeating it, but you're right. Those are the words. Those words are going to mean as much historically as I did not have sex with that woman, and I'm not a crook. I mean, these are those words are going to be tattooed on American history's bottom, I guess, if you want to put it that way.
Al, and one thing, the final thoughts here is that really bothers me is that we have so many important things to worry about. A growing economy, the fastest right now that it's been in 44 years. We have other things like North Korea, definitely Iran, and other world issues to contend with, and we are literally wasting time on this, which is a blemish on the American history books. All of this garbage going on internally. It's a waste.
Yes, but the fact we're trying to clean it out, that is valuable.
I agree.
That's a valuable thing.
I agree.
Clear up that culture, clean it up. It's a painful thing to go through, but it is a process we're going to have to go through wherever the chips fall.
Al Parada, you are always welcome on this program. You're excellent at what you do. Rightsforthestream.org. Thank you so much for sharing with us this morning, and please come back in the near future.
Anytime you want.
I appreciate it.
Right here.
You're excellent. Thanks, Al. Appreciate it.
With your friend, the advertising friend, your Thursday morning friend.
Okay. Thank you, Al Parada. Thank you. Excellent man right there. I can't wait to have him back. Rightsforthestream.org, and he is very, very good. Oh, my goodness. Let's ride. 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the world. Man, I'll tell you what, summer's here. And if you don't have an ATV, you better get over there and check one out. And you can head up in the hills or go all around the valley. They've got 0% financing on ATVs and watercrafts. They've got it all for you. Get over there at Let's Ride. Nick and Randy and the whole crew, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the world, where the fun is sold. Check it out today, Let's Ride. They're waiting to serve you. I also know some great people that are waiting to give us the weather forecast, and of course they are the sponsors, as I just tipped all my papers on the floor. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company, of course, providing accounting services to the Mini-Cash area for well over 50 years. I mean, they're the best at what they do in serving you. Tax return preparation, tax planning, business consulting, bookkeeping services, retirement planning, all of this and so much more by people that really want to help you, your family, and your business. With locations in Burley and Rupert, Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. Right now, here's the weather.
Here's your weather forecast as we begin another work week, and it's going to be a wet one. Here's your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch. We are expecting scattered rain showers and thunderstorms. Those thunderstorms are mostly going to be in the afternoon, and some of those storms could produce small hail, gusty winds, and heavy rain. Mostly cloudy skies, expecting a high of 66 tonight. That could continue. Gusty winds as well, heavy rain, mostly cloudy skies with a low of 49. Tomorrow, pretty much the same, 50% chance of rain showers and thunderstorms in the forecast. Those thunderstorms mostly going to be in the afternoon. Looking at a high of 70 for Tuesday night, mostly cloudy, chance of rain showers. Low of 50 by Wednesday. The promise is that we're going to see some sunshine with a high of 76 and then mostly sunny and 82 for Thursday. That's your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
Oh, things got a little gnarly on Father's Day yesterday, didn't they? A lot of rain and boom, boom in the skies and everything. Weather brought to you by Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. These folks are so good. Deanna and I have been using them for quite some time. They really can help you. Like I said, providing accounting services to the Mini-Cash area for well over 50 years. Please contact them. Make an appointment today. They can and they will help you. Offices in Burley and Rupert, of course. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. I don't know if you heard this story or not, but the major media probably won't talk about it or compliment it very much. But in Washington State, there was a carjacker that was wielding a gun and trying to steal a car and throw the occupants out of the vehicle, and he also tried to abduct a 16-year-old girl. And this carjacker, this potential killer, was taken out by a good guy with a gun. End of story. End of possible crime. And all the people that were involved, all the potential victims that were right there in that area, they have thanked many, many times over this man, a good guy with a gun, stopping the perpetration of what could have been many, many injuries or deaths, and especially the abduction of that 16-year-old girl, and stop the carjacking. A good guy with a gun. And hopefully the news media will treat this story fairly, but don't bet on it. Don't forget our friends at Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. The very best of life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits. I mean, all of this and so much more. By an agency that really cares, dedicated and responsive to your needs. They are always accessible and devoted to helping you, and that's Cameron and Siemens Insurance. Highway 24 in Rupert. All you need to do is make a call. Make a call, 436-4424, and establish an appointment, and they can help you from there. Cameron and Siemens Insurance in Rupert. You call them today. Wow, we've got a lot of things cooking coming up next hour. We have James Herson. I really am enjoying James Herson. He's an attorney in Hollywood that tells it like it is. And we're going to be talking about how funny it isn't anymore on TV. Humor and late night, just not there anymore. And then at 10:32, we've got a guy by the name of Joseph Tartakovsky coming on the air, and he's going to be talking about his new book, The Lives of the Constitution. That should be really, really interesting. I got time for a telephone call real fast, so give me a jingle on the landline, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Real quick, I want to remind you, the Rupert United Methodist Church at 605 8th Street in Rupert is planning a great vacation Bible school called Rolling River Rampage, and it's going to be starting next Monday, the 25th, and going through Friday, June 29th. It's going to be held from 9 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. each day for preschool through 5th grade, and registration begins at 8:30 a.m. each day. For more information, you can call the Rupert United Methodist Church at 436-3354. Caller, I've got a minute and a half. Good morning, you're on the air.
Good morning. I got two things I want to say. One, I saw a headline that says that they're making orphans out of those children at the border. An orphan is somebody without parents. So if they get to go back to their parents in 6 weeks, they're not orphans. That's fake news. And another thing is this guy that took out that kidnapper. A little quick story. My uncle's neighbors had some bears get in their house, and the neighbor didn't have guns. They come over and got my uncle to take care of the bears, and they took my uncle's hunting rights, guns, and everything away for life because it wasn't in your house. So it's going to come to the point that if you try to defend somebody like this little gal, they're going to say, but it wasn't your life. It wasn't you being kidnapped. It wasn't you, you know.
You really bring up a lot of good points right there, to which I wished I had time to talk to you more about these. I've got the news coming up. Please, would you call me if you have an opportunity tomorrow in the first hour? I'd love to talk about this.
Will do.
Hey, thank you. God bless. Have a wonderful day. Right now, we're going to head for the news from CBS. I'll be back in about 7 minutes. Don't you go away. Oh, good morning on Monday, June the 18th, as we fly into hour number 3. And we're, of course, brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley, Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, along with some of our great advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Don't forget, put it on your calendar, the 2018 4th of July schedule of events over at Rupert. Oh, my goodness, are they going to have a good time. Starting on June 30th with that Christmas lighting breakfast in the Rupert Square. Yep, that's connected to the 4th of July celebration, starting at 6 in the morning, and then going every day through the 4th of July with all kinds of great food booths and, of course, performances by great singers, horse races, mutton busting, and, of course, the famous firecracker Firecracker 500 lawnmower race at the Minidoka County Fairgrounds. All of this and more as you celebrate America. Let's celebrate. 4th of July schedule of events for Rupert, Idaho for this year. And some of the great merchants that are inviting you to come on over and enjoy the fun. Rupert's 4th of July celebration. Snyder's Surplus Incorporated at 116 South, 200 West of Rupert. Oh my goodness, they've got a wonderful store at 116 South, 200 West of Rupert with everything in it, from mess kits to MREs, hats to boots, wall lockers to pallet racks. They've got it all. You'll find it at Snyder's Surplus. Don't forget, along with Senator Kelly Anthon, great senator, we really appreciate it as he invites everybody to the square, the famous Rupert Square, during the 4th of July celebration. There will be something for everyone. Help celebrate Rupert's great, famous 4th of July celebration, and thank you to Senator Kelly Anthon. Right now, we're going to turn our attention to our next guest and some of the accolades that I want to tell you about him. He has an MA in media psychology. He's a New York Times best-selling author, media analyst, and law professor. Here he is, Mr. James Herson. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning, Zeb. How are you?
Well, I have a question for you. You say that you have an M.A. in media psychology. I do not, but I can sum up what most of them are. They're all nuts.
Well, what we're living in is a very unique media culture. And actually, what is going on is craven manipulation using the media. And that's every news department, including Fox News. And the people that are setting what we used to call this the narrative. Narrative is too gentle. This is craven propaganda. And the example is, as we speak, the entire news media, the entire social media, or a significant portion of the social media and the Internet, is devoted to discussing a fallacious story about children suffering at the border.
Yeah.
This is a strategy of the left, and it's like an echo chamber out there. So that would lead you to think that the people are nuts. And also, of course, the constant Trump hate barrage at places like CNN, MSNBC, NBC, the broadcast media, the Washington Post, the New York Times. That would make you think they're nuts as well. But I think that it's part of an agenda. It's part of a strategy. And regardless of their motives, their goal is to drive down the numbers of President Trump, the approval numbers, which have come up of late, but to drive them down to make an environment that's going to be more amenable to impeachment, which is the entire goal of the existence of the resistance movement, which is, in fact, the mainstream media, the deep state, Democrat Party, and the Republican establishment.
James, in your professional opinion, have you ever seen anything like this in your adult life, to where there is a chasm, not just a divide, but a chasm between the two factions, the liberals, the Democrats versus conservatives in this country and conservative thought? I've never seen anything like this.
No, the polarization really began to be unprecedented under President Obama, who nurtured divisions, who increased divisions. And since the surprise election of Donald Trump, the chasm, as you called it, has gotten bigger. No, we've never seen anything like it. But, you know, there's an old concept that came from Fabian socialism, and it came from the political writer and philosopher Hegel. It's called the Hegelian dialectic. And it's the idea of pitting two sides against each other in order to accomplish goals. And these, in this case, it's devious goals. Mm-hmm. And it's very clear that, you know, the same people I'm talking about, the left, the globalists, want to have a false tension, a chasm. And as we get closer to midterm elections, and any elections, they play on those divisions, and they use those divisions in order to motivate people to vote. So we see them get more and more outrageous, basically comparing the separation of criminals from children to concentration camps in Nazi Germany, one of their favorite comparisons, and just engaging in the kind of hyperbole that they do, launching profane insults in the direction of the president and his family, etc. But the goal is the same. The goal is simple. The goal is for them to consolidate power and to take power away from the American people. And that's this whole thing. You know, trying to undo an election is an attempt to take power away from the American people. Bringing in illegal voters is a way to take power away from citizens. So that's what these people exist for.
You know, you wrote an excellent, and I really applaud you, an excellent piece about late-night comedy on television. And I would simply say that funny is not funny anymore. These people, I think, have lost an objective to make people smile, make people feel good, and make people laugh. It's turned into garbage. Would you agree?
Absolutely. And from even a business standpoint, the numbers of people who enjoyed in the past what was called late night comedy has been reduced, and there are all kinds of programs on entertainment shows that really don't make money, and it's very clear that the same kind of biases that we suspect, which really are more than mere bias, they're incredibly driven hatreds, are allowing these people to stay on the air and to continue to cater to a niche market. And so in my piece, I talked about, sort of the father of late night comedy, which is, to me, Johnny Carson. You know, Steve Allen invented it, Jack Parr nurtured it, but Johnny Carson defined it.
Yes.
And what it was the first order was entertainment. It was this soothing, familial kind of entertainment that people would watch, which before they went to sleep. And so what we have instead is, in essence, an MSNBC political show. We have, for example, Stephen Colbert taking talking points from Senator Charles Schumer and giving America lectures on health care according to him. It's Jimmy Kimmel doing that. Stephen Colbert, wall-to-wall Trump bashing. Seth Meyers, wall-to-wall Trump bashing. And it's, as you said, it's not funny. They've really departed from comedy to seeking standing ovations like Samantha Bee received for insulting the president's daughter using the worst possible profane insult anyone can use against a woman, getting standing ovation. Or Robert De Niro at the Tony Awards getting a standing ovation for using a profane word and the president's name. And then we now see Kathy Griffin, who has no originality whatsoever, doing much the same with Melania Trump. And so it's an abandonment of entertainment, of comedy writing, of anything to do with comedy, and anything at all that would harken back to the kind of qualities that people loved about late night television. And now, of course, there's more choices because we have these streaming shows, we have other cable shows, we have late night shows, and it is hyper competitive. but they're all competing for the same audience.
Yeah.
And yet, out there are, most of America that have American values and don't enjoy watching the President of the United States disparaged with every joke, even to the point now where the members of the Saturday Night Live crew are out there speaking to the public and saying, could we please have something else besides Donald Trump as a subject of our comedy? It's getting boring and tedious, and that's what it is.
James,
and so yes, it's the death of late night comedy.
What does it tell you? And you study this, you write about this, but what does it tell you about our society in general that we're allowing this to happen?
It's when you use the word allowing it to happen, I think the majority of Americans now don't watch. For example, Stephen Colbert's audience is like 1/3 of what Johnny Carson's audience was, and he's number one. So he doesn't even, on certain nights, Stephen Colbert's audience is not as big as the audience at Fox News, a cable news outlet. That was unheard of, that a broadcast television show, a late-night show, would have a smaller audience. I used to appear regularly on Bill Maher's old ABC show that was on before Jimmy Kimmel, Politically Incorrect, and that show was able to sustain, actually, a much larger audience than a cable show. But that's not the case anymore, because even Bill Maher, he has changed his approach on HBO, and he really just brings in people that agree with him almost exclusively.
Mm-hmm.
And he basically caters to media stories. So he says outrageous things like he just did recently, where he said to bring on a crash of our economy if it helps us get rid of Trump. So it's okay to make people suffer to achieve the ends of undoing the election. Again, the theme, they want to take away the power, whatever power there is, in the American people, because the left thinks the American people don't deserve power because they're ignorant and because they're stupid. And we saw that, interestingly enough, in the Inspector General's report with the unnamed FBI agent describing the American voters who voted for Trump as ignorant and uneducated, I guess, in the basket of deplorables, huh?
James, you mentioned Bill Maher, and over at the station we're having a little feedback here again, Wheels. You mentioned Bill Maher. And as much as I absolutely detest that man, I don't like him, I don't think he's funny at all, but at least, to some degree, the man was honest when he said, and you had the quote in your article, he said, quote, of Bill Maher, I feel the bottom has to fall out at some point, and by the way, I'm hoping for it, because I think one way you get rid of Trump is a crashing economy. Of all the things that I don't like about him, I guess I have a little refreshing attitude that he's honest, and he showed his blatant disregard, but he backed it up with a direct quote as to how he feels. He's one of the very few liberals that comes right out and says that.
Well, that's true. He actually reveals what's in the heart of people like Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, Adam Schiff. I mean, they're cheerleading for any bad thing if it helps them obtain power and it harms President Trump. They're cheerleading for a breakdown in the diplomacy with North Korea, which ultimately leads to nuclear exchanges. They're cheerleading for people to die. They're cheerleading, in the case, at least Bill Maher lets it out, the cat out of the bag, but it's very clear. They cackle with joy at any bad news. And when there's these bad news that affects America, it's bad news that affects Americans. But they obviously, the people on the left, the Pelosi's, the Schumers, the Schiffs, are not there to represent citizens in America. they're clearly there for their own consolidation of power. For example, they elevate MS-13 gang members to a higher level than they do American citizens. They elevate people that cross the border illegally to a much higher level than they do people who come over legally and who are born here and who are citizens. So they're out to figure out a way to stay in power, and in most cases they go from rags to riches by being part of the establishment there in D.C., and that seems to be a pattern. So I could mention there's plenty of Republicans that belong in that category as well, but the media is clearly supporting most of the media, with the exception of some shows on Fox. Portions of the Internet, talk shows like yours, are the only places that you can get the other side of the story. There, even, as I mentioned, on the general Fox News programming, they debate things that should not be debated. They're not debatable items. So you see this false dichotomy on Fox, and it allows the left message to get out.
I know that you've touched on this already, and I don't mean to exacerbate the conversation in one direction, but really, when you have a chance to sit down and talk to a person of the left, a liberal that hates Donald Trump and what's happening in this country right now, James, if you sat there and asked them a simple three-letter word, why? Why, when we're seeing the lowest numbers of unemployment in 44 years? Why, when we see a GDP going up at possibly over 4%? Why are they hating him so bad when we may have peace with North Korea? What kind of stupid answer can they give?
Well, in the case, I live and work in the Hollywood community, and I interface with them all the time. And when I do have those that will discuss, it appears in almost every case, they're incredibly ill-informed. There are people that watch Rachel Maddow religiously and believe it. There are people that watch CNN and believe Jeff Zucker's propaganda channel. So, of course, what their answer is, all of these false myths that have been propagandized for a year and a half, their answer is that the president is being used by Vladimir Putin. He's a Russian stooge, and his policies are for Russia or to make himself richer. And they have all of these, but when I try to, with almost every case, they don't want to hear any other point of view. They're completely invested and devoted. And most of these people were so shell-shocked by the election of Trump. They're not over it. They still are in a semi-denial, and so they embrace any false narrative that supports the idea that Trump was not legitimately elected. And the left has been doing this going back to George Bush, with Bush versus Gore. They love to do this, and the left is trying to perpetuate that notion that Trump is not legitimate, that he acts on behalf of Russia to lead them into the midterms. The numbers haven't been stellar for them, and the blue wave has kind of gone down to a trickle. So they're getting desperate, so now they come up with this, where they always shift strategy. So the new strategy today is the children that are suffering, these terrible suffering children on the border, which, of course, is a policy that was signed into law by Bill Clinton, which was implemented by both Bush and Obama, and it was never really paid attention to until it's expedient to do so. So kind of Rahm Emanuel said, never let a crisis go to waste. We'll never let a demagogic news narrative go to waste either.
I tell you what, I wished I had more time because you are one of my favorite guests to have on this program, law professor, attorney, and media analyst and best-selling author, James Herson. God bless you, my dear friend. Come back soon. Thank you so much.
All right. God bless you, Zeb. Thanks for having me.
Oh, you bet. Anytime. That man is so well-versed and knows what's going on. James Herson, and resides in California. You've seen him on television many, many times. I absolutely put him at the top of the pile. Great guest to have on the program. Thank you so much. Want to remind you that on Thursdays we have a segment called Cassia County School Days, and our two great sponsors of that segment on Thursdays at 10:10 are, of course, A Child's World at 1308 Overland in Burley. Oh, my goodness sakes, all their summer clothes 20% off, and they've got all the games, the puzzles, and the books, and they've got all the baby furniture and the baby clothing. Stop in. It's a family store serving you at 1308 Overland in Burley, A Child's World. And along with Ambulatory Surgery Center at 1344 Highland in Burley, and the number to call, 677-8888. For your outpatient surgeries like life-saving colonoscopies and arthroscopic surgeries, hand surgeries, knee surgeries, please check it out. They will, and they are trying to save you money at the Ambulatory Surgery Center, 1344 Highland in Burley, 677-8888. Teaming up with The Child's World, bringing you on Thursdays, school days in Cassia County, and we certainly appreciate it. Okay, let's see what else we got cooking. Coming up after the break at the bottom of the hour, we have a gentleman by the name of Joseph Tartakovsky coming on the air, and he's got a book called The Lives of the Constitution. And I'm just going to let him give a complete thumbnail sketch of how he wrote it, why he wrote it, and talk about some of the principal interests of the book. And it should be really interesting. The Lives of Our Constitution with Joseph Tartakovsky, so don't miss that. Lunch Bunch will be this coming Thursday, and we want to say a big, big thank you to our Lunch Bunch sponsors for the door prizes: Walmart, Smith's Foods, Hanson Mortuary, Stokes Groceries, Doug Martin, Palmer L Place, and Denny's. Thank you so much for supporting Lunch Bunch, which is coming up this Thursday at Denny's in Burley, 611 North Overland, America's Diner. Right now, let's turn it over to Wheels at our main studios. I'll be back in about 3 minutes.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Oh, thank you, and welcome into our last half hour for this morning. We're going to introduce our guest in just a moment. Quickly, I want to remind you a lot of great merchants are welcoming you to the Rupert 4th of July celebration for this year. Don't miss it, and thanks to Dixon Oil at 602 South 2nd in Rupert. They've been in business since 1951, and it's a great service station, gas, oil, and all the propane for heating. Daryl and the crew at Dixon Oil wish you a very happy 4th of July. Haruza Insurance at 723 South 3rd in Rupert. Hey, they say, come on by. We'll quote your commercial and business, auto, home, life, health insurance today. Protect what matters most to you with Haruza Insurance. Don't forget, they wish you a very happy 4th of July celebration. And, of course, Snyder Paul Automotive, great folks at 205 West Ellis Street in Paul. Don't forget, Snyder Paul Automotive, has all your auto and truck parts. Just stop in, get fixed up, and get ready to roll. Leland and the crew, very concerned about you and your driving safety. Don't forget, Snyder Paul Automotive on Ellis Street in Paul. Wishing you a very happy 4th of July celebration. Well, it's fitting we should talk about the 4th of July and Independence Day. And right now our next guest has written a book called The Lives of the Constitution. And I introduce to everybody and say thank you for being here, Joseph Tartakovsky. Good morning, Joseph. How are you?
Hey, Zeb. Good morning. Good to be with you.
Well, you know, your book intrigues me, and I'm really interested in finding out more. Tell me a thumbnail sketch about the book and why you wrote this book.
I wanted to tell the story of our life as Americans under the Constitution. It's an incredible story. We've lived under a written charter longer than any people on earth. 230 years, and so I wanted to figure out how we pulled it off. And it's such a vast and epic story. The way I approached it was to pick 10 people who lived in different eras, different backgrounds, approach the Constitution in different ways, and figure out how they and their generation confronted the challenges that every American generation faces and overcame them, and what lessons that can teach us today.
You know, and over at the station wheels, you're going to have to ride the gain quite a bit to bring this gentleman up a little bit in my headset, so please stay aware of that. Joseph, when you wrote this book and you did the research for this book in regards not only to our Constitution but also the thoughts of the day that have promoted now over 200 and almost 50 years, what did you learn?
I learned that self-government is actually a great struggle, that it's often messy, it's complicated, politics can be bitter. We all cherish the Constitution, and that's one very important element we've had in our American life, but we've also fought over the Constitution since the very beginning. But one of the biggest misconceptions I find about the Constitution is that it was something the Founding Fathers sort of gave us, and we've just, the only task is to just obey what they said. Would it were true, the problem is that there's so many unanswered questions, things that they left ambiguous, they didn't confront, and so our task has always been to not to try to ventriloquize the founders, but to approach our challenges in their spirit of patriotism and intelligence and learning and good faith.
Did it amaze you, Joseph, and you would probably know how to answer this better than almost anyone else because you wrote this book, did it amaze you how far-sighted these gentlemen really were? I know that there's a lot of pitfalls that perhaps weren't answered or addressed in our Constitution, but of all the constitutions in all of the world's history, it's still the best ever written. Did it amaze you how they could think into the future like they did?
It does amaze me. It turns out that the average national constitution, since ours took effect in 1790, has lasted 19 years. That's the average.
Wow.
They always tend to collapse for one reason or another, and it does amaze me. I mean, they did it just right, and it has the right measure of trust in human nature, but also distrust, the right balance between federal and state authority, specifying certain things in detail, but leaving other things open-ended. And it seems to have been the right mix of institutional arrangements in order to allow all the political questions that were sure to come up to be sorted out in a way that doesn't lead to war and disaster.
Does it surprise you that in this year, 2018, there seems to be more of a grappling with the Constitution, more so by the liberals than ever, whether it's free speech or whether it's gun rights or immigration? Boy, these are issues that seem to be wanting to shred the Constitution. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, the way I try to approach it through history is what you find is that there have been one of the elements of the American constitutional culture is that has been ever present since the beginning is this idea that it's in peril. It may well be at any given time, but this idea that we're vigilant to prevent any sort of betrayal or flouting of the Constitution has always been with us. I think it's a good thing that people are thinking hard about the Constitution. I think it's a good thing that although the parties disagree over the meaning or the application of the Constitution in a specific instance, everyone is claiming to be trying to uphold it. There have been a lot of new constitutional questions that have arisen under the Trump administration, like the emoluments clause, to what extent the president can receive outside income while in office. But we're sorting these things out. I mean, for sure, as you suggested, what's so amazing is that I don't think the Founding Fathers would have thought that it would have lasted this long.
Really?
We know that because they said things like this during their lifetime. Alexander Hamilton thought it was By 1802, he thought it was a worthless document. And our first great Chief Justice, John Marshall, thought that it was not going to last. He thought it was, this was around 1832. And yet here we are.
Why? I guess the question would be why, Joseph? Why have we made this document, this Constitution, last for all these over 200 years? What really is the motivating force to keep it, and why has it been so successful?
Well, I think it's two things. It's the text, the way it arranges power. That's number one. But number two is there's something more than just the text, as wonderful as it is, and that is what I call our constitutional culture. It's a set of assumptions and habits and traditions, a way of doing business, an American way, that without which the text would be meaningless. And one way we know this is because this is what happens, we see what happens with a mere written constitution in other countries. I was living in Russia about a decade ago when the state took over the last independent TV station. And the extraordinary thing was that the Russians didn't care. It didn't bother them because they'd never had a free press. Now, their constitution guarantees a free press and free speech, but they don't have a culture that makes it meaningful. They don't have officials that think that respect for free speech is important in and of itself, and that they ought to do it because even though they dislike criticism from the press, they do it because this is how we do things in America. And you don't have a public that would rise up in outrage and say, this is outrageous. This is a very powerful thing. I mean, if the governor of Idaho tried to silence one critical radio station, I mean, the people would be up in arms.
Yeah.
And this is the sort of this unseen force that has, I think, sustained our Constitution for these now around our third century.
When you wrote this book, and you wrote about the various individuals, well, whether it's Alexander Hamilton or Daniel Webster or anyone, what was your favorite part of this book that you really got into and wanted to relay that to the reader? What was your favorite part of doing this book?
The favorite part was to see how most of our most pressing constitutional questions, whether free speech or the size of the government, or the relation between the federal and state governments, have been with us literally since the beginning. Every generation tends to feel that it is in an unprecedented time, or that it's in a period of constitutional degeneracy. But actually, these same questions occur over and over, but in new forms. So to give you one example, many conservatives are concerned about the size of the federal government, and that's a worthy concern. This was a fight at the beginning when Alexander Hamilton started building up the federal government in its early days. And Thomas Jefferson thought that the government had gotten too big. He thought it was bloated. Now, this was at a time when the total number of civilian federal employees was something like 3,000 people. Postmasters, harbor surveyors, as big as as Cleveland's municipal government today. Jefferson thought that it got unconstitutionally large. Now, we're at about 3 million federal employees today, but you see the same dynamic, the same essential debates occur over and over, and it's just something we have to keep grappling with.
Let me ask you this question. I'm almost out of time, but I'm really interested because I'm writing a book of my own. When you sat down and said, I'm going to write a book about the Constitution and how it evolved and the people in charge, etc., did you have any idea what kind of a big puddle of water you were jumping in?
Yeah, it was I should have known better. I mean, it's such a vast. It's such a vast story, but what I tried to do is, this is why I went with this biographical approach. It's so vast that the only way I could think of to do it was, you pick these people and you follow them on their adventures through life and see the world as they saw. So you can't talk about everybody and everything in every episode, but you talk about the major episodes in these people's lives. So Hamilton at the founding, Webster leading up to the Civil War, Stephen Field, a justice after the Civil War, that during the growth of American capitalism, Woodrow Wilson during the Progressive era, Robert Jackson during World War II. He was FDR's Attorney General, Justice Scalia today. You try to see what they saw and see, what essential things about their lives and their times apply to today. So that was my approach, sort of try to get my arms around the magnitude of our story.
One last thought, Joseph. How safe, how secure is our Constitution today?
It's a good question. My view, in my more optimistic moments at least, is I feel the Constitution is secure. It's safe. I don't want to be. There have been so many people for so many decades who have said that we're on the precipice of collapse. And I feel like I would be not obeying the lessons I learned from the book if I were to say that. However, the attitude should be that the Constitution is at any moment could be endangered. The attitude should be one of concern, of vigilance, of scrutiny, because that's actually maybe the secret. That I would sometimes even feel it's like a constitutional hypochondria. But that is part of what has preserved us on this path for so long. So it's good to talk about the Constitution, debate the Constitution, all within the framework of this spirit in which the one thing that we can all agree on as Americans is that our Constitution is noble and has served us well and has made us rich and free and powerful, and it is worth everything to do as much as we can to preserve it in every respect.
Let me ask you this final thought, and everybody should be aware, The Lives of the Constitution, written by Joseph Tartakovsky. Where can people obtain this book?
So you can get it online, Amazon, Barnes & Noble. It's also at Target and Walmart, I think, and or you can get it from your local bookstore. They may not, if they don't carry it, you can just ask for it and they can order it, and it'll be there in a few days. So in stores or online.
Well, I want to wish you great success with this book. I can't wait to get a copy of my own and read about this story that we've talked about this morning. The Lives of the Constitution, written by Joseph Tartakovsky. Thank you, Joseph, for being on the program, and I wish you great success with this book.
Thanks, Zeb, and good luck with your book, too.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. God bless. Thank you much. An excellent book called The Lives of the Constitution, and I urge you folks to get a copy of this. I'm going to get a copy and have him back, Joseph Tartakovsky. Oh, my goodness, it's time for a weather forecast. We've got to get that in, and our weather, of course, brought to you by Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. The number to call, 324-7657, or you can go to their website, scarrowsmeats.com. All the delicious meats. Oh, I bet you a lot of you just absolutely enjoyed Scarrows Meats for Father's Day weekend. The marinated prime ribs and the smoked hams and the breakfast sausages and the bacons and the bratwurst. Oh, boy. It's good. Absolutely. Don't forget Scarrows Meats in Jerome. Right now, here's Gina with the forecast.
Here's your weather forecast as we begin another work week, and it's going to be a wet one. Here's your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch. We are expecting scattered rain showers and thunderstorms. Those thunderstorms are mostly going to be in the afternoon, and some of those storms could produce small hail, gusty winds, and heavy rain. Mostly cloudy skies, expecting a high of 66 tonight. That could continue. Gusty winds as well, heavy rain, mostly cloudy skies with a low of 49. Tomorrow, pretty much the same, 50% chance of rain showers and thunderstorms in the forecast. Those thunderstorms mostly going to be in the afternoon. Looking at a high of 70 for Tuesday night, mostly cloudy, chance of rain showers. Low of 50 by Wednesday. It promises that we're going to see some sunshine with a high of 76 and then mostly sunny and 82 for Thursday. That's your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
Thank you, Gina. Brought to everybody by Scarrows Meats. Don Scarrow and the crew at 331 North Road, Jerome. My goodness, the number to call, 324-7657. It's true, Scarrows Meats, they are changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time. I've got a couple of minutes here. I'd love to hear from you. I think we've had some outstanding guests this morning talking about the various subjects. Richard Manning, Al Parada, James Herson, Joseph Tartakovsky. And tomorrow, real quick while I'm waiting for your phone call, we've got Megan Barth, and she really is excellent as a political analyst. She's going to be on at 9:06. And then, of course, at 9:30 tomorrow morning, we've got Vicky's Country Garden, followed by the Stoats Equipment, your John Deere dealer, Ag Minutes. And then, of course, we've got Dr. History returning tomorrow. And last but not least, we're going to have a story with the Pacific Legal Foundation. So that's what's cooking tomorrow on the program. Calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. You want to know how dangerous open borders are? You want to know how dangerous it is to perhaps a political shelf life, if you're wondering? Well, Angela Merkel, the head of Germany, might be getting close to losing her job because of her attitude on, come on in, y'all come on into Germany, all the refugees, all the Muslims, etc., just come on in. Well, people are outraged. People have had enough, and she has created over there a total mess. And people are demanding no more open borders, no more just come on in and stay here attitude, and she is very, very close to losing her leadership, Angela Merkel. Sound familiar? It could happen here. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I hope that you had an excellent Father's Day weekend. I don't think I've ever had a nicer Father's Day weekend. The only thing that would have made it a lot better is if my son Jake and his family could have got down here to see us. Jake is a fireman in Boise and was on duty and couldn't get off, but I certainly appreciate the fact that we'll be seeing him in the next couple of days, him and his family. But we had the rest of the family all over here yesterday, and Kathy Benson, Kent's wife, made the most delicious enchiladas, and we had a great big gathering, and then we roped, and we were right in between two storms. To the east of us, it was thundering and bumpering and everything else and raining. To the west of us, the lightning, and we're right in the middle. Had a wonderful time. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, Zeb. Remember, the media is covering up what's happening in Europe. And Sweden is still the rape capital of the world. And the unbelievable things that are happening to women over there, even young boys. We hear nothing about it. And then what's happening in Germany is they're there and you'll never get rid of them. They're, trying to evac or send these people back home. There is no home for them to go to. And, but they're destroying Europe. And you see, it's just like I said the other day, in American Falls, there's 50% Hispanic. And I guess that's all right as long as they love America. And the other day I was at a place of business, and it was full of illegals. And, they seem friendly enough and everything. But do they understand free market capitalism? Do they understand the Constitution? Do they understand what makes America great? Do they understand what gives them a job?
Well, Randy, let me interrupt you there for a minute. You like I said first hour, you cannot keep fracturing a culture or a constitution or a group of people that are committed to American values. You can't keep fracturing that and expect any country to survive. And right now, I believe America's on that precipice.
Well, there's no question about it. And if you don't have business, free market capitalists, doing business the way they know how.
That's right.
I can't tell you, and I don't know how to tell you what you do for your business. You're the one who has to understand it. And so I can't, any more than you can tell me what to do and
That's
how
right.
to do it.
That's right.
Because we are inspired by the freedoms we get from America. I'm telling you, Zeb, I'm towards Oakley, and I'm in a downpour like you can't believe.
Well, I appreciate your call, Randy, and I'm out of time, but call me in the first hour if you get a chance tomorrow. I'd like to talk to you about what could be the downfall of America, and we're letting it happen. Thank you, Randy. I appreciate it. God bless you, man. Thank you. Want to remind you about our major sponsor before I have to gallop out of here. Our thanks go to our Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Oh, yes, if you're getting ready for a road trip. I want to get out of Dodge City. All right, well, get the tires that'll get you there safely and then bring you back home. Absolutely, they've got all the tires for your pickups, your cars, SUVs, horse trailers, boat trailers, camp trailers, whatever, for that big road trip. Absolutely, they can help you, and they will. All 7 locations of your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. And they've got a free pre-trip safety check, too, where they check your tires and your brake components, your wheel alignment, your front-end components, shocks and struts, batteries, including a load test. They want you to enjoy the trip and not worry. Absolutely. Stop in and see today Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley. The best, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Thank you for being here today. I'm going to look forward to seeing you back here tomorrow morning at 8:06. We'll saddle the horse and ride again for 3 hours, 8:06 to 11, Zeb at the Ranch, right here on K-Bar, 12:30 a.m., and streaming live on the internet, zebbell.com. And remember, the way things were are the way things ought to be. Have a good day, everybody.